People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, this is one I've been looking forward to for a while. We got Dorothy Dietrich on here. If you guys are weekly listeners to our podcast, we had her on with Dick Brooks a couple weeks ago. And Dorothy Dietrich is the first lady of magic. I was first introduced to her back in 2008 at a magic convention. And they're like, that's the lady that caught the bullet. She actually did the bullet catch. So upside down straitjacket escape and burning ropes, bullet catch, milk can. If Houdini did it, she's probably done it. If Houdini was afraid to do it, she's probably done it. Ladies and gentlemen, Dorothy Dietrich. Woo! What's up, girl? How are you?
I'm great. Everything's just peachy.
Awesome.
It's all good here.
And we got Dick Brooks, her partner, on the line as well. They like to be with each other in case they forget details and slip through the cracks here. The other one chimes in. That's exactly why I have Natalie with me as a host as well, so co-host as well. So
my backup.
There you go. So Dorothy, how did you get started in magic?
Actually, I fell in love with magic when I was really young. A couple of things happened. My brother did a card trick one time, and when I was really little, and he would not tell me how he did it. I said, "Wow, that's cool. Teach me how to do it." And he said, "No." And I looked all over. I couldn't find anything written down. I go with no books hidden anywhere. I could not figure out how he did it. But that bothered me. And then I had 6 brothers, 2 sisters, and
Wow.
I was a very girly girl at the time. And I still am, I guess. And so the only time they would let me play anything with them is if I played cops and robbers or cowboys and Indians. Because we had enough kids to play baseball, but whenever the ball came toward me, I would let it hit the ground, then pick it up and go from there. I didn't want to catch it because it was really a hard ball, even though they called it a softball. And I would not take that from them. They said, "That's a softball." I said, "No, it's hard." And so then they gave me a mitt to catch it with, and I said, "Okay, I'll try that." Okay, grab the mitt, do the ball. It was too hard. I can't do this. So the only time I got to play with the guys was if they let me, if I were tied to the chair playing cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers or the tree or locked in the closet or all kinds of stuff. But whatever they did to me, I was able to get out every time. It was not a problem. And so one day my aunt was visiting, and she said, "Who do you think you are, Houdini?" And I said, "Who?" And she said, "Look it up." She was that kind of person. And so I went to the library to look up Houdini, and I was looking for WHO, Houdini, and I couldn't find it. I could not find it. And so the librarian said, "What are you trying to find?" And I said, "Houdini." And she said, "Oh, you're in the wrong spot." So she got me a book, and it was by Walter Gibson about Houdini. And Walter B. Gibson was also the author of the Shadow series, and a very famous writer and personal friend of Houdini's. But I learned through those early books was that Houdini left home at 12 years old, which was perfect for me because my family life, unfortunately, my dad was an alcoholic who would beat my mom and the kids, and life was miserable all the time. I was afraid. I was afraid at home. I was afraid to go to school. I went to Catholic school when the nuns were in the okay to slap kids around mode.
Oh goodness.
And so I was afraid to go to school, afraid to go home. And when I was 12 years old, I was at my girlfriend's house trying to do math homework because I was not good at it. And her father said he would bring me home by 9 o'clock. I had to be home by 9 o'clock. All right, he didn't show up at home, and now I have no ride home, and it's 9 o'clock, and there's no way I can make it home by 9 o'clock. And I know I'm going to get whacked pretty good when I get home, and I went outside, I started to walk home, and I ran in front of a truck hoping to just die.
Oh.
And the truck was able to pull off the side, and at first he was yelling at me, saying, "How dare you? How am I supposed to live with myself if I had killed you? How come you think that's okay? That's not okay." He was like yelling at me, and then he said, "Okay, I'm calmed down. Now sit down and talk to me. What's going on?" And so I told him I don't want to live, and he said, "Okay, that all sounds like it makes sense, but look at you. You're a kid. You've got a whole life ahead of you. This is just your start. That you have to plan something better than this. There's a lot better than this. This is how you started, but that's not how you're going to finish." And so, yeah, he gave me some, a real good, I needed that at the moment.
And how old were you?
12 years old.
Oh, my gosh, Dorothy.
Yeah.
And so, but in the book about Houdini, they said he left home at 12 years old, and so I left home at 13. I had done every kind of odd job I could find. If somebody was raking leaves, I would go up and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so good at that. Let me do that for you. Just give me whatever you can afford." And if somebody was painting something, I would say, "Oh my gosh, I'm the best painter. Oh, you should see how good I am." And anything, babysitting. I'd offer to clean houses, wash dishes. I had put together a cute little magic show that was a few minutes long, and I would do shows for people and just ask for whatever you can give me. And so I had just really hustled, and I had $3,000 saved up. And that was even after my father stole my money, because he said kids don't need any money. And so my girlfriend's older brother was bragging all over the area that he was going to be driving this red sports car to New York City for a car dealer to sell it. And he was just, all excited. And so I said to my girlfriend, "Ask him if he'll give me a ride to New York." And she said, "What? What are you going to do in New York?" I said, "I want to live there." She said, "What?" I said, "You know my life. I can't live here anymore. I want to go. How bad can it be? It's got to be better than this." And she went, "I'll ask him." So she asked him. He said yes, and I went to New York City.
Wow.
And
At 13.
But that was just the beginning. It was like crazy cool because everybody said, "Weren't you afraid?" No, I was afraid to stay home.
Godly.
I really wasn't afraid. And so when I got to New York, I knew I had to find a place to live. I wasn't going to sleep on the street. And the reason I raised all that money for myself was that I didn't want to be begging anybody. I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to have to be, somebody find out I'm underage and they're going to put me in some kind of another crazy situation where I might be or not be abused or who knows what. And so I went to the newsstand. As soon as I got to New York, the kid that drove me in, he said, "So what are you going to do now?" And I said, "I got to find a place to live." He went, "Oh, how are you going to do that?" The silly thing is, he should have never taken me. I was such a kid, He could have gotten in trouble. But times were different, though. Kids didn't matter that much as like we do now,
Yeah,
and,
but that's I wasn't, I was just learning to tie my shoes at 13. I'm still a kid. I can't imagine just getting up and going. I couldn't do it now in my 40s, get up and go to New York and just fly by the seat of my pants. Man,
Wow,
that was...
You also were raised different as well. She had to be
I'm just
more
saying,
independent with
I
her
can't
home
fathom
life,
what
I
she
do
had to
believe.
go through. Golly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, my mom had I had 6 brothers, 2 sisters, so that's a lot to take care of.
Right.
My father wasn't working much. He'd show up at work once in a while, but my mom was working all the time, which meant she'd come home, she'd cook up some food, and that would go get prepared for the next meal. And then she'd go off to work, and the kids would have to prepare the dinner and, make sure everybody's fed, make sure everybody takes a bath, and make sure everybody's got homework. And I'm one of the oldest kids, so I was the 3rd oldest. And so I had an awful lot of responsibility. So as far as, like, people say, "Didn't you want to have kids?" Yeah, I had kids. I had my mother's kids.
Wow.
And we still have a huge family, and so it's all cool. But in New York, I went to the newsstand to try and find a newspaper to find out where I can live and how much is this rent going to be to stay somewhere. And it turns out that there was a newspaper called Show Business. It's like a newspaper called Show Business. It was like a little magazine, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, this is like the heavens opening up, and there it is, you know. So in the back of the magazine, there was three gals that were looking to share an apartment, and my rent would be $150, my share of the rent. And I went, yes, that's it. I can make this. I can do this. Because I didn't need to eat much. I was a scrawny thing. And I figured that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to waste my money in thinking that I'm set. Because I'm not set. I got to try and find work. And I didn't want to my goal was to not get a regular job, like any kind of regular job. I wanted to be in show business. I wanted to do magic. And I wanted to do that. That's who I want to be. And the weird thing is that everybody I met, like I was trying to figure out magic, and I looked it up in the phone book, where is magic going on, and went to the magic stores. And, of course, met magicians at every store you go to. There are magicians hanging out. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of try and wiggled my way through my life's path and found out the women that I was living with, they were all in show business. They all wanted to be Broadway people, dancers, singers, actors. And so they told me you need a picture and resume for auditions, and you got to go see agents. They called it go-sees. You got to do the go-sees. So I went, okay, so what's this thing you need? A resume. What's a resume? And so they said, all right, well, we'll put together. And they said, well, so where have you been working? And I said, I haven't had any real jobs, just, working for families here and there, doing a show, but no places. And they said, well, they don't even look at it. You just got to put together a resume. They don't even look at it. I wish I had a copy of that original resume. It had to be hilarious.
Wow.
But anyway, it's true. They don't look at it. And so now I've got to get somebody to take my picture. And I don't want to blow a lot of money on a photographer. So I found in the same magazine that there was a photographer looking for models to do his portfolio, And so I modeled for him, and I said, I want to trade. I need photos. You need photos. What do you want to do? And so I got that traded, and I got my pictures and resumes. And then doing the go-sees, I ran into Dick every once in a while, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And so, yeah, bit by bit, I would buy one trick here and one trick there and bring it home and try and play around with it. And the sad thing about when you don't know a lot about magic, when you're not real experienced, you don't know what's good or what's bad in the catalogs.
You did puppets too.
And I was pretty shy starting out on stage. And so I picked up a couple of puppets, and I figured I'll let the puppets talk. And that was a really good idea. I love, to this day, I absolutely love puppets. I have a huge collection of puppets. And the puppets would say something that I normally wouldn't be able to say,
Yeah.
So it was very cool. And then eventually I kind of left the puppets as a side thing once in a while and went on full on with the magic. And but in New York City, they had a lot of agents. You couldn't get work without agents. So you had to every day get up and make a plan to go to this one, that one, that one, that one. And then the next day, that one. And now there was an article in the paper that the Westchester Department of Parks was looking for acts to perform in the parks of Westchester, which was really a good gig. It was like 30 shows to start with. And nobody gets that. It's like crazy cool. How many times do you ever get one job that's actually 30 shows?
Right.
Yeah, I'm lucky if I get a resort that has 14 weeks straight. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it was working every day in the summer. And so I went to audition, and it was a big open room, and they had a long table with 3 chairs and clipboards with pens, and the 3 people sitting there at the table. And I was like, oh, they're looking at the clipboard when I walk in. They're not even looking at me, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I going to do this if they don't applaud or if they don't laugh, or like if they're looking down? It's going to throw me off for sure. So I said, well, you know what? Let me give it a shot. So I said, you know what? I really want this job. I know I'm really perfect for what you're looking for, but I know that you're looking for entertainers to perform in the parks, for families in the parks, right? For kids and families and couples that are in the park. And so I'd love to do my show for you, but what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to be the people in the park. Like if you hear something that's funny, if you would laugh, if you see something that's amazing, if you clap your hands, and just kind of be that crowd that you want me to perform for. I want you to be that crowd. And I'll do better, and you'll have fun. And if it's not for you, then it's not for you. That's it. I said, so I hope that's good for you. And they looked at each other, and they're like, okay. And they pushed their clipboards aside. And I told them there's nothing that you need to write down. It's just a magic show. It's just either like it or you don't.
Right.
And so they did like it. They laughed. They laughed when they thought it was funny. They applauded every time. It was very comfortable. I don't know what gave me the strength to do that and the gusto to even try to do that with them, you know.
And how old were you at this point?
Sorry?
How old were you?
Still a teenager.
See, I got my first resort when I was 25, and
wow.
I had my audition, and they were like, yeah, you got to come here, show up with your equipment, you're going to have an audition today. And they load me into the room, they take me downstairs, through the elevator, through the cafeteria, whatever at this resort, and I'm in the daycare center, and it's literally 3 infants and a 2-year-old, and they said, all right, do your show. I wasn't smart enough to say, okay, play along. I need volunteers in the audience. It was like a Zoom show. I mean, there was nothing. I'm producing doves. I'm doing a magic show. I'm doing stand-up comedy magic. And it's like, I got the gig, and I've had the gig since I was 25 years old. But, I mean,
well, that's good.
They throw you to the wolves. I wasn't smart enough to say, hey, play along. I need volunteers. I was afraid to even incorporate them in the show at all.
So then they asked me to wait in the hallway, and I did. And about 5 minutes later, they said, come on inside. And so I went in, and they said, so we really like what you do. Are you available this summer? We need you from blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? I will give away everything else that's on my calendar. I want to do this. I would love to entertain your families in the parks. And the truth was, I didn't have any other shows.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is so awesome.
And so I did it. But honest to goodness, just doing shows every day like that, day after day after day, you get so good. Because and the thing is, when people say, well, how did you grow so fast? I didn't have time to not grow. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice to be bad. You know, I don't want to get fired. I have to be good.
That is awesome.
And then they gave you extra work?
And then at the end of the summer, they recommended me to the Department of Education. And there, from my experience in the parks that summer, I built a show called Believe in Yourself, that I wanted to inspire other kids to do it, you know, to figure out who you are, what do you want to do, what do you want to be, and just go freaking be it. Go do it.
Nice.
And
that for many years.
And so, yeah, the school, to this day, I love doing school shows, both elementary and high school, colleges. It's all good for me. I love being around young people and seeing their faces. And there was one show, this was funny. I did a high school group, and they had the attitude, oh, it's a magician. Oh, this is going to be just great.
Right.
Great. You know. And I'm like, And so I had figured out early on that, first of all, I did get a lot of pushback because I'm a female. A lot of pushback. I would get crazy comments from people like, "Where's the man? Where's the man magician? They're just going to sew you in half, right? They're going to sew you in half." and I just, shook my finger at him like, no, and just did my show. And I realized early on the best way to get the audience to live through that emotion that they're going through for whatever reason, that a female shouldn't be in this role, it irked me, but I figured it's normal because it happens regularly.
Right.
It's a regular thing. It's an irritation for people to see a woman in that role. And so I put together a flash act with, put the music on, and trick happens after trick after trick after trick. And then after the flash act is done, then I say, at the beginning I introduce the show with a voiceover that says, when I was a little girl, everybody told me girls can't do magic. And then the music plays, and then at the end of that little flash act, then I say, "So what do you think? You think girls can do magic?" And the audience goes, "Yeah." And the cool thing is, at the high school, they were all sitting there waiting to kill me, and so the flash act goes on, and one thing after another. And at that particular show, by that time I had 6 doves, a duck, a rabbit, 2 poodles, all these things magically appearing, and the audience was like, what? And so, you know how teenagers are, they sit next to each other, buds for life kind of thing, and they look at each other and they decide, like, what do you think? I don't know, what do you think? I don't know, what do you think? And they're just waiting to nail the act, whoever it is. And they did that for early. When I first started, they were palsies, and then all of a sudden, they left you could see their whole composure, where their shoulders roll back, they sit back, and they're like, now they got to try and figure this out. Now, they're on their own, and they just want to be in the moment. So, in other words, they were finally feeling that feeling of wonder, like, what is going on?
That is so awesome.
Am I looking at? Which that's where I want to get them. I want to get them in that when they're sitting there. What? When they're and there was the funniest thing that happened in one of the shows with a bunch of kids in the crowd. So at one point during my show, this little kid yells out, "What the F?"
Oh my!
with all the teachers around, and I was like, "Oh, that kid's gonna be in trouble." But of course, everybody just cracked up. And the teachers all cracked up too. And so yeah,
It's through your teenage years, teenage years.
Yeah. So my teenage years were good. I at one point everybody said, "Oh, you should go apply for the Playboy Club. You're pretty. You should go apply for to be a playgirl or work for a Playboy Club." I went, "Oh, what's that?" I had no idea. So I went and met them and talked with them, and then they brought me into the restaurant where the Playboy Club was, and I see all these women in these little bunny outfits, these scanty little bikini thingies with bunny tails and bunny ears, and I was like, "Oh, brother." Oh, brother, this, no. And so they said they'd get a hold of me if anything opened up, and sure enough, a couple months later, they called me, and I said, "Oh, I wish I could do it. I'm just totally booked up right now, but thank you. I will reach out again if I need it." And the main thing that I realized, and I don't know what made me think it, but I realized that I can't close doors. I don't want to close doors when, like if somebody's a jerk to me, I don't make a big deal out of it. That's on them. Mm-hmm. I just know if you hurt me once, I'm not going to go back for a second. Whammo, you got me. And now I'm smart enough to know if you did it once, you'll probably do it again. Yeah. Or somebody finds some way to scam me and not really pay me. Oh, they said they were going to pay me. I don't need to work for that person.
Yeah.
Eventually on a TV show for Hefner or something.
Yeah, I was on I forget what I was. Do you remember what it was? Yeah, I did a show for. It was something to do with Hefner. He was in some kind of event that he was holding, and they booked me as the magician for that event. That was cool.
Very cool.
And
So it went full circle.
so it kind of went full circle, but I didn't have to put on bunny ears and.
What did you tell him that they wanted you
No,
in the club
no.
at one point? No.
No.
Well, I have so many lists of television shows. I was going on your Wikipedia page, looking at all your TV appearances, and after like number 15, I scrolled down. I said, "Holy crap! There's another page. I think I have enough." But The World's Greatest Escapes with Tony Curtis. How cool was that?
It was extremely cool. It was a pleasure and thrill to meet Tony Curtis and hang with him for the time I was there. And he absolutely loved playing the part of Houdini. He was so thrilled. First of all, he was a new actor at the time. He didn't have any recognizable roles. So that one really kind of put him on the map.
That's how I know him. You know.
And he was a perfect Houdini. I thought nobody's ever done it better.
Wow.
The movie was totally inaccurate, but it was a wonderful movie. To this day, it holds up as a really good movie.
You know, I'm debating on bringing it out for my 9-year-old to watch. If she'll sit still for an hour and a half, I think she'll enjoy it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's a fun movie.
She just got to realize it's not Disney. It's an older movie, and just take it with a grain of salt. But I think she'll do that. I think she'll do it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, she hangs with you guys, so
Yeah.
She's hipper than the average 9-year-old.
Well.
We think so, but we're biased.
Yeah. No, I think it's true because you guys have a different life than the average run-of-the-mill mom and dad.
That's for sure. That is.
You've included her in that life, so she's catching up. She's picking up stuff that you're not necessarily on purpose dishing out, but she's getting it all.
Yeah, she's a good kid.
Yeah.
So the Tony Curtis movie, that's my dad turned me onto that. Boy, when I entered high school, he said, "You like magic? Have you ever seen this?" Because my dad owned a video store, and man,
fun.
I absolutely loved it. I even started doing the milk pitcher in a tube in a cone, and then I'd be like, and if you like a little bit of sweet milk, here's some sugar, and that's the loading the confetti in there. I'm like, I've never heard anybody doing that but Tony Curtis in that movie, but it gets a confetti load in that thing. I'll do it that way. I used to wear a tuxedo and make the milk vanish. Yeah, that's so funny.
The whole thing was just wonderful, the idea with Houdini's mom sewing a dress for Bess, and Houdini takes her to this magic event, a big magic banquet, and then he's challenged to put the straight jacket on, and he's able to do it. It was the whole movie was just fun, but it would be funner if more fun. I should probably speak wordy or better words.
You're getting worse.
I mean, try to speak like a grown up. I'll try now. But yeah, it would have been cool if they had gotten the script right, as well as being as wonderful as it was.
Well, who consulted on that? I've never paused it to look at the end. Did they?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe Dunninger.
Well, also, I'm just going through this. We're already 30 minutes into the podcast, an hour-long show. Tom Snyder's show with Kiss, Montel Williams' show. We love the show Mysteries at the Museum. We love that show. I tell Natalie, you go to a museum and look at, I don't know, anything, just a lighter, and they bring it to life, retelling these stories about how this lighter lit the way and saved people's life or whatever. And it's like, that's a cool lighter. I'd go see that lighter now. But you guys were in there with the Houdini Museum. Is that what it was, with artifacts?
Yeah, many times they had us do discussions about different aspects of Houdini's life, and there was one time they wanted to do an expose of Houdini. It's like, and I went, oh God, I got to make sure that I get that they use us for this event, because if they get somebody that doesn't have any interest in the legacy of Houdini and just wants to be on TV,
Yeah.
and they'd be willing to say whatever they want them to say. The truth is, the thing that they wanted to talk about was the mirror handcuffs, and the woman producer had pitched to the producer that she figured out Houdini's secret, and that he created this challenge, and he manufactured the handcuffs, and he took them to the theater, and he was in cahoots with the newspaper writer, and blah, blah, blah. All this stuff that she totally made up. Just totally made up. Because there's no way for anybody to know that actually happened.
That's just her theory, and she's running with it.
Yeah, it's not even a theory.
It's approved by the...
Yeah, it was really just a story that the producer thought, oh, that's cool, okay, yeah, go ahead, run with it. So now she's got to find somebody that will say it, somebody with authority that will say it. So I went, okay, yeah, that's great, yeah, let's do it. And I figured just sign up and do it, because then when she's there in the building, she can't make me say it, and she can't change it. She can't go looking to hire somebody else to do the job. She's stuck with me, so now she's got to fight it out with me. So she was telling me, I started telling the story of the truth about what we actually know, the truth of the story. And she's like, oh, well, didn't you read my treatise to this? I said, oh, yeah. How do you see that any of that's real? And she said, well, I pitched it to the producer, and what am I supposed to do? I said, all right, you know what? Here's my question to you. If you want to present to the public that Houdini was a fake, that he produced the handcuffs, he took it to the theater, he was in cahoots with the newspaper, then what's your next story about Houdini? You got another story about what's going to happen that you proved that Houdini was nobody? Now you're going to be able to pitch another Houdini bit? It's like you won this one, but now what are you going to do for the next one? And I said, please forgive me, but I'm going to tell you something. Houdini is a legend. He's a legend, and he deserves to be a legend. You don't know what happened that day. I don't know exactly what happened that day. Nobody does, and nobody can prove what did or didn't happen, because it's not historically archived. It's just not. So here's what I can do. I can give you a fabulous version, and the most likely version of what really did happen. It's going to be fat. Your producer is going to love it better than your story, because that means there's an open door for the next Houdini story. So let's roll with this and see what happens. And she was like she's thinking she's going to lose the deal. And I said, no, you're not. And it turns out it was a really good piece. But yeah, it's amazing to me how producers and writers are sometimes they're good at historical pieces, and sometimes they just are willing to write anything to get paid for the day. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm glad you were. Once again, if they'd have sent me something to say, hey, say this, and be the factoid and just go with this script, I would just turn the script down. The way you were able to accept it and then flip it, and have the forethought to play that chess game of saying, once they get the crew there, they're already filming, and you go your way, she's not going to turn around. She has to accept it. That's pretty smart. That's pretty good.
So the other thing to know about if you ever do anything on TV, or if you're interviewed for a newspaper or magazine or anything, whatever you physically say, whatever words come out of your mouth, there is no such thing as off the record.
Right.
Or there's just no such thing as that. Don't say anything that you don't want repeated, because it can be repeated. If they're there and it's salacious, it's going to get repeated. So if you don't want it out there, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't say it.
I mean, how many people have been caught on the hot mics, and then they report that? It's like, no, you weren't on yet. That's not cool.
Yeah, no. So don't say it. You just got to know that you are even if it's before the actual taping, you have been, as soon as you're rigged up with a mic pack on you, you're on.
Yep.
You are on. And you can assume that they could be recording everything you say just for the heck of it, just in case anything is good and that they could use. And it's not that they want to hurt anybody. It's just they want good TV.
Right.
You know?
And they don't mind hurting people for good TV.
Go down.
Right. Yep. So, would you say the Montel Williams was your biggest television appearance?
No.
What?
No, the HBO special was spectacular. It was called The World's Greatest Escapes.
Now, is that the Tony Curtis one?
Yes.
Now, what year about do you think that was? Because I haven't seen that.
You didn't see it?
I haven't seen World's Greatest Escapes.
It's on. Well, the whole thing is not. I don't know where you can see.
Versions on YouTube.
But do you know where the entire program is? I don't think so. No. Sadly, the entire the
short one and a long one.
The entire show is not available. But it was called The World's Greatest Escapes. The host was Tony Curtis, because he played Houdini in the Houdini movie, and
the producer went bankrupt, but you luckily had a copy.
Yeah.
Of your part.
So yeah, I was able to. Usually, when I do any kind of TV things, I insist as part of the contract that I get a copy of the production.
Smart.
And I try to get the outtakes, and that rarely happens.
Right.
They don't give you that. That's like little local news stations. They can do it for you, but an actual TV production or that kind of thing, nah, you're never gonna get that. But
it's up on YouTube.
But that one was me upside down hanging from the parachute ride in Anaheim, California, at Knott's Berry Farm, with the straitjacket escape hanging upside down with the rope on fire.
Wow! I need to see this.
That's on YouTube. Just look up Dorothy Dietrich straitjacket.
There's a short version and a long one.
And that's.
I think one is 6 minutes, one is 10 minutes.
It's pretty cool. They did a beautiful job on that, and that one that was my favorite outfit. I wanted it to be, because it was a sky jump, a parachute ride. I wanted it to have a space kind of feeling. So I designed an outfit that was kind of a Buck Rogers space out with the silver cape and blue flames. Very cool with a silver helmet.
She took off. And high heel shoes.
And 6-inch heels.
Wow. 6-inch heels, on fire, upside down in a straitjacket. I can't wait to see this. As soon as we hang up, I'm going to be searching this. That's awesome. So,
it was very cool. And then another one was, there were several actually. Atlantic City Alive did a nice show. I don't know if you even have the tape from that. But another one was, they came from Australia to do a show called Just for the Record, The Best of Everything. And so I had been booked to go to perform at the resorts in Atlantic City for a show there for their 10th anniversary. They wanted to put on
Donald Trump.
That guy Trump.
oh yeah.
That guy. And so they wanted a bunch of spectacular presentations and shows for the High Rollers for their 10th anniversary celebration. So I went and I did the bullet catch stunts, and I also did a straitjacket escape for them at that event.
From a crane.
And hanging off of a crane.
But that was the one and only time you ever did the bullet catch, correct?
No.
Oh, I thought you only did it once.
No, I actually did it in Canada. The CBC flew me up there to do several. They actually had me there to film. I don't know. We were there the whole day filming different pieces for several segments on their show called Autobus du Canada with Jean-Pierre Ferland. And that was at the big studio, the Canadian Broadcast Company studio. It was a magnificent production. I don't have a copy of that. They were going to send me a copy, and it never happened.
The highest paid magician.
But they said I was the highest paid act in their history.
Wow, that is awesome.
The thing was that I wasn't taking it seriously because I was already working. I was getting some really good corporate work. So I was getting good money, good jobs, big responsibility, doing shows with scripts and company products, producing, like making the president of the company appear, or changing this the old product to the new product, bringing, manufacturing, like producing the new product line for the year. I did Yago Sangria, which was awesome. They had the red sangria, and then they came out one year with white sangria as well as red sangria, but they didn't want to change it from red to white. They wanted to change it from red sangria to red and white sangria. So everything it was a beautiful color. They had a huge budget, so I was able to hire 25 dancers and put together, like I asked for all the scripts of all the presenters were going to be saying that week, so I knew what their pitch was. What are they selling to these people? Because it would be okay for me to just come and do a magic show and go, but they wanted it to be designed around their theme of the year. And the more you do that, the more you're helping them, and you're more likely to get that booking again. Or if they have, some companies were really cool. They are doing a presentation, say, in Las Vegas. Then they're also doing another presentation in Phoenix. Then they're doing another one in Puerto Rico. So you build the one show, but you get paid that much every time. You produce it once, and then you've got it, and they fly you all over the planet to do these, and they treat you like gold,
That is so awesome.
The funniest one that I did was for Manhattan Shirts. It was a show in Manhattan, and they had 500 salespeople in, I guess it was one of the big hotels like the Waldorf or something. All over the world. And so they had their top salespeople from all over the world. And backstage, and I'm setting up, and they said, you're going to be on the top sales guy, CEO is going to be on it, and then the president of the company is going to talk after you. So now this guy comes up on stage, and he's talking to the guys in the audience, and it was mostly all men, but some women. And he says, well, I need to talk with you. You need to know that we appreciate all the work that you do. However, this year we made a huge investment in our John Henry line, and that was the shirts that had the fly front with the buttons covered. Had like a piece of fabric over the front. Very pretty shirt. And I thought that would really be a huge hit. They sent us a pile of those shirts so we'd get familiar with the product, And so there this guy is on stage, and he's saying, we were expecting a big rollout with this product. We were expecting the biggest success that we've ever had in the history of the company. And none of you, not a single salesperson in this room, has reached what we thought was going to be your lowest goal. We thought you would all reach the highest goal with a product like this. We believed in it, blah, blah, blah. And he says, and we do still believe in the product. We know it's a good product. And here's what we're going to do. If we're going to give you 6 months to get back out there, and you get that product out on the market. You get that to all your leads. And if you can't do a certain amount, or whatever dollar amount, he said, if you can't bring that to a certain blah, 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 he says, we're going to be bringing other salespeople. We're going to hire salespeople to send them into your region to sell the John Henry line, because we believe in this product, blah, 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 blah. And he's berating these people. Now, I have to follow him.
Oh.
They just got to, kicked to the knees, and now I got to come out. So I went, for crying out loud.
I was the buffer for
So they hired me as the buffer to lighten it up so that the president could come out and say, hey, how you doing, everybody? Everything okay? And I thought, wow, that's, they should have told me about that, because I would have brought different stuff.
Wow.
I don't have a chance to go home and get anything else.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, we're going to do the flash act at the beginning. You put the music on. I'm going to go, because they're not even going to be looking at me or thinking about me when I come out. There's no way they're going to be focused on me. They are whipsawed. There's no way they're going to be interested at all in what I, and so put the music on, did magic trick, magic trick, magic trick. Doves appear, another dove, duck appears. And it's kind of like they're sitting there and they're just kind of in a daze, like, what the hey happened, And so finally then, there was polite applause after the opening, and then I get a guy up on stage, and I say to him, hey, what's your name? And I'm talking to him. I say, so this interesting story about the whole John Henry line. I think it's a pretty handsome shirt, actually. I think it's probably got a lot of, there's a lot there that you could pitch. I think I could sell that shirt. And so I said, let me show you something. So on the side I had the sword through neck. So I pick up the sword and I go, let me put this on. And I had put the thing on the guy's neck. I said, here, let's try this on. And so I said, I pick up the sword and I said, and I'm tapping on the wooden collar on his neck. I go, okay, so here's the deal. You will sell the John Henry line. And I'm tapping, and I'm tapping him on the side, on his arm. I'm tapping this guy, and I go, you're going to sell it? So you're going to sell it, aren't you? You're going to do it. I said, let's see how this trick works out. If you're telling the truth, it's going to be good. And it's like, I just tried to make them, as soon as I said, you are going to sell the John Henry line, then everybody finally, whoosh,
broke the ice.
The room released. It was that wonderful release that you just hope for every time you do a show, when you get that first giggle or you get that first applause.
You can feel it.
And you could just feel it, you know, and the whole room, just the air went out. It was like, whew, finally, the tension was gone, and now they could have fun. And so, yeah, from that point on, it was really good. And so the president of the company afterward, he says, that was amazing. That was great. I said, you know what? It would have been a good idea for you to tell me what I was walking into. And he laughed. He says, I was afraid you wouldn't show up.
Well, man, this time is flying by. We're already at, we have like 10 minutes left. We haven't talked about half the stuff that we have to talk to you about. I was looking at this list of television shows. There was one show you were on with Bill Cosby. I saw a picture of that on your Wikipedia page. What was that about?
That was a show he had that was a wonderful show, by the way. It was a variety show that he would have performers planted in the audience, you know, and it was like a big theater, and he'd have big celebs on, as well as oddball performers just come up and do something, you know. So I was in the audience I had rigged up a couple of tricks with a dove bag that had some tricks in the bag, and then also produced the dove from the dove bag. And it was called, I showed Empty. And it was, I will say that it's a shame that it turns out that he had this other human inside of him.
Yeah.
But as far as being a talent, a brilliant performer, a brilliant comedian, I don't think they get any better than him. We did 5 rehearsals, and not once did he do the same joke, but every joke was hilarious.
I hear stand-up comedians still talk about him being a legend. I mean, it's like 2 different people. It's like you're talking about 2 different people.
Yeah, and for me, he was the politest person. He was a true gentleman, and if that wasn't good enough, about couple of weeks later, I got a call from American Program Bureau that books all the colleges and speaking gigs, and he said, Bill Cosby told me to give you a call. I was like, who is this? No, it's an American program here. Oh, really? And I was like, holy cow, like, he didn't even, most people don't think of you when you're gone.
Right.
But for him to do that, I think that was incredible. So I have a different image of who he was, and it breaks my heart to know that there was this other side of him.
Well, I'm looking at all of this different stuff. TV Land, Travel Channel, Magic Road Trip. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But one show that you weren't on, but they talked about you, was House MD. And they mentioned your bullet catch in that show. My wife is a huge fan.
I really am. I love that show.
Everybody loves that show. It's amazing. And why it's not on the air still, I don't know, because it was really huge. After that, I called the set and tried to get the props that they used in the segment. And the woman on the phone was so rude. Really,
Aww.
just really, ruder than it. For no reason, just for no reason. I said I wanted to purchase the props from that show, from that segment. She goes, "Oh, we don't do that. That's not going to happen." And I was like, just rude as could be. And I said, "Well, how do you know that can't happen? They exist, and I thought it would be cool as just a thing to have them on display and put them on display at the Houdini Museum with, a picture of House holding the props,
Right.
And there's the props." And I thought that would be really nice. It would promote your project. And we're not gonna do it.
And
Wow.
the museum would be around a lot longer than that television show.
Right.
The show was ending, and
Right.
I thought that was really crass. And so then she said, "No, it's in a prop department somewhere. It's not. There's no way to even do the research eyes." And she just didn't want to bother.
Yeah,
and who
it
knows?
sounded like
Maybe
she wanted
she's
to do her
losing her
job.
job now and doesn't care about anything else. I don't know, but couldn't make it happen.
Well, this is 2 interviews with you and Dick, and we still haven't got to the debunking $10,000 reward that you guys put up about all these fake psychics that say they can, contact Houdini. The work that you guys are doing with Houdini's grave and maintaining that and keeping that up. Just the museum itself. We're going to have to get you guys both on together and just talk only Houdini. Is that something you guys, is that okay? Can we do that again?
That really makes sense. We have that project. We also have a project that we want to do for the museum in Scranton and make it go international with a Zoom kind of a virtual tour of the museum, which is part like we're not really sure exactly how to do it, but I think as you know, we can chat about everything and tell the story about every little object in the museum. But it would be fun, I think, if we recorded a lot of the fun stories about Houdini's life that relate to the artifacts that we have in the museum as a recorded piece, and maybe show some of the performances that we did at the museum, and then have live interactive performances with audiences virtually.
I think that could be so cool, like a Mysteries at the Museum, but for every item in your place. I mean, it'd be 1,000 episodes, and talk about each different thing. And yeah, I love it. I love the idea.
We have a couple video. You don't show video, because we could even show video clips of some of the shows.
Well, anything. If you guys want me to promote something, just send it to me, and I'll throw it on my Twitter. Not a problem at all. I love you guys. I'll promote anything you need me to promote.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. And when you get that project up and running, you let us know, and we'll promote that. And like I said, I just got to schedule it. I've already booked all next month, but we'll schedule something maybe the month after to get you guys back on and talk only Houdini, because you guys are the professionals on that. You guys are the historians on that. So
February is Women's History Month, too.
Well, that's one question I was going to ask, but I'm skimming through my notes so quick because, we've only scratched the surface. Do you feel responsible for the boom in women's magic lately, Dorothy?
I really don't know. I did it because not because I'm a woman, because I was a human that wanted to do magic, and I was told that girls don't do magic. So for me, it was not a mission that I had to accomplish for all women. It was just something that I had to do. The fact that other females are inspired to do it, I think, is incredible. Just incredible.
I mean, it's grown 1,000% in, I don't know, the past decade. Women in magic, yeah.
And there's so many women that when they meet
the ice in so many areas.
When the women meet me, actually, if I'm at a show or a conference or any place, women come up to me and say that I was their inspiration to get into magic. And I can't tell you how that it is so heartwarming that I could, from where I was, to be an inspiration to somebody. And I would do that every day if I could, for everybody.
Yeah, that's so awesome. You guys are fantastic. I love you guys. Thank you for doing this with us. I appreciate it. Like I said, when we get this thing done, we're gonna reset and we'll get you guys only about Houdini. And like I said, anything you need to promote, let me know. We're just running out of time, guys. But
oh well, what are you gonna do?
Thank you. Bullet catch. I'm gonna look up that video. Seeing you hanging upside down from the HBO special with the rope on fire. Come on, that's fantastic. How about a Facebook page where people can find you at?
You can probably the best thing is go on YouTube and look up Dorothy Dietrich, and there's a bunch of video clips up.
Awesome. And website?
A website is dorothydietrich.com.
Perfect. You are the best. Thank you so much. Hang on the line real fast. And like I said, guys, everybody listening, we'll get them back on in a month or so, and we'll talk about what they are known for in the magic world as the Houdini aficionados. They are the people that anybody has questions about Houdini, they go to them, including the History Channel and all that. So stay tuned.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me and us, and we love what you do. You guys are the best.
All right, we'll stay on the line. Thank you, Dick. Love you, Dorothy. Talk to you in a couple minutes.
Love you too.
On March 6th, Saturday, March 6th, I'll be performing at the Lafayette Inn and Restaurant in Standardsville, Virginia from 6 to 8 p.m., and I'll be going table to table performing close-up magic, and they'll provide a 4-course meal in a truly magical evening. This event usually sells out, so don't wait. If you're traveling from out of town or out of state, ask about staying the night at the inn. Space is limited, and reserve your spot today. Check them out at thelafayetteinn.com. All 16 episodes of Wes Iseli's Magic Life Season 1 are available on Jewel TV. Jewel TV is on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Jewel TV app, and tons of other places. It's in over 100 million households. For a limited time, it's also available on YouTube. So check out Season 1 before Season 2 debuts on tonight. It's actually debuting tonight.
Yes.
Season 2. Check it out, guys. Check it out. Jewel TV. If you don't have Roku or any of that other stuff, just download the app. Guys, it's free. It's easy. Tonight, Season 2. Check it out. See you next week. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Express Copy and Graphics. Mention promo code Wes Iseli to get 10% off. Their website is expresscopy.com. That's XPRESS-COPY.com. They do it all. Copies, banners, signs, vehicle wraps, promo items, practically anything you need printed, they can do it for you. These guys are great. Check them out. Check us out online at wesiseli.com and patreon.com/Wes_Iseli for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.